Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Local 226 of the AFL-CIO, and this has to do with all their contracts with the hotels and casinos over the years, generally post-World War II. And there was a time when many of these casinos were mobbed up, and they essentially wanted labor peace and agreed to union contracts.
When you say they were mobbed up, what does that mean?
It means many of them had ownership that was associated with the underworld, the Costa Nostra, Jewish mob.
Well, they also had the financing of a lot of those properties was done by the Teamsters Pension Fund, correct?
That's true. Essentially, where to find the money was difficult. A lot of people didn't want to support the casinos, hotels, and their expansion. And some very powerful banking interests. E. Perry Thomas went to the Teamsters Pension Fund, Central States Teamsters Pension Fund, and they found the money. So clearly that got them into the casino industry, the culinary local, etc. So unions have been very powerful in Southern Nevada beginning in the 50s and 60s and have sustained those contracts over the years.
But in the North, a majority of the owners did their best to keep the mafia out, and along with it, and I don't want to associate the two because there's obviously a huge difference. The mafia and the unions are not the same thing.
Absolutely not. But the ownership, we all know what the ownership was.
And whereas up here, the casinos were personally owned, like Bill Hara, et cetera, and therefore they didn't have the mob influence. Is that right?
Well, there were some mobbed up casinos, the Riverside Hotel, the Wertheimer Brothers, and others. But essentially, it was the strike in 1949 during Reno Rodeo where the culinary local here tried to expand the bargaining unit. And the owners said, please, this is not a good time, it's going to hurt the community. They went ahead with the strike. The community rallied around the owners and kept the businesses going. And following that, the response was the Right to Work initiative. A lot of people here started that here in Northern Nevada, successful in 1952 in establishing the Right to Work law.
Is there a connection, is there brotherhood between the North and Southern branches of the union, or are they on different agendas?
Well, there's clearly a connection in terms of their association on a national level as culinary locals, but they face very different environments. I think there's only two union houses as far as the culinary local, Circus and the Reno Hilton here, where virtually every house in Southern Nevada is a union house and has a union contract. They've been trying over the years with their organizers to make inroads here, but the inroads have been marginal. And again, I think it's the legacy of the 1949 Reno Rodeo strike.
Interesting. And for those who may be new to the state and not understand, could you briefly explain the Right to Work law here? It means that people don't have to join a union in order to work somewhere.
No
right?
compulsory unionism, and this comes out of the Taft-Hartley Act in 1948. States could follow up with Section 14B and invoke that, which they did in amending our Constitution in 1952, which prohibits compulsory unionism. People essentially have to voluntarily want to join the union.
And so in the previous legislative session, it should be no surprise to anyone, I'll get that later, that the unions and the gaming industry were working together on getting legislation passed.
Absolutely. They've worked together over the years in getting legislation passed in support of shared interests.
Well, didn't the unions, though, try to overturn the Right to Work law?
Oh, initially, yes, and that was 1954 and 1956. Again, all they had to do at that point with the initiative petition is get 10% of the vote statewide. After two unsuccessful efforts, very close losses, the pro-Right to Work law changed the initiative petition process, which we live with today. We need 10% of the voters in 13 out of 17 counties who voted in the last election. And the unions relied on Las Vegas and Reno to get their signatures. They couldn't get them in the outlying areas. That stopped the effort to amend our Constitution and the Right to Work law.
And for the foreseeable future, unions will remain a viable force in the Silver State?
Well, no question. I mean, they're here in Northern Nevada, they're here in Southern Nevada. Right to Work has been an impediment, but it hasn't stopped the unions from organizing.
And we are out of time. Guy Rocha, thank you so much for being here. We'll be back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
Interest rates remain at all-time historic lows. Now's a great time to purchase or refinance in the Northern Nevada area. Hi, I'm Valerie Hedlund, Operations Manager of CTX Mortgage. We pride ourselves in giving face-to-face service, local processing, local underwriting, immediate loan approvals in a private and professional office setting. We at CTX choose to do business differently. This is our local team of processors and operations staff that are dedicated to providing you the highest level of service. Please call any of the loan officers on our CTX team.
Would you like to savor a Trento pork chop? Or maybe pasta rags with grilled chicken? Hugo's Tuscan Grill at D'Andrea is a celebration of color, flavor, and freshness. Each dish is created from natural, wholesome foods that is delicious and nutritious. Hugo's is a comfortable restaurant with breathtaking city views. If you enjoy great food and good company, visit us here at Hugo's. It's the best that dining can be. 2900 South D'Andrea Parkway in Sparks.
Welcome to Sushi Club, best sushi in town. The Sushi Club in Independence Square uses the best quality products. The sushi is dynamite, and the service is just wonderful.
The Sushi Club is bigger and better. We have 11 sushi chefs on staff, and the service is great.
All your friends will tell you that Sushi Club is the best place for the best sushi.
Come join us for lunch or dinner.
The Sushi Club, 294 East Moana Lane in the Independence Square.
Now that's great sushi.
If you love good food and you like good wine and all in a beautiful setting, we've got the perfect evening for you.
The Event Center at Red Hawk, Michael Mondavi Wine Dinner, Chef Ken and his fabulous food, 4 courses paired with Michael Mondavi wines. It's going to be fantastic.
Oh, it sounds perfect, Al. It's all coming up on September 18th right here at Red Hawk. Make sure you call early to get your reservation in. It's going to be an evening not to be missed.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad and Andy Engleman.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers on our special Labor Day show, we welcome to the program a person who now has her own parking spot in our parking lot, Marybel Batjer, the Governor's Chief of Staff. Welcome.
Thank you for being with us today.
Appreciate it.
We had talked earlier with Guy Rocha about the labor unions and so forth in Nevada. Are the public employees of the state of Nevada, are they unionized?
Well, they have an association that they can join, the Nevada State Employees Association.
And what kind of pressure does that put on the governor is when it comes time to do the budget as far as raises and so forth?
Well, I don't think any pressure per se, Andy. The governor has been very supported by many of the unions here in the state of Nevada. He very much appreciates the worker, if you will. The state employees have been very good to the governor. I wouldn't consider it pressure. I think they're mostly in agreement.
Now they can't.
on issues.
They can't go on strike though, or anything like that, right?
And the state employees do not have collective bargaining. The governor did support them in his campaign for that. It was rather controversial, but he feels that other employees in the state of Nevada have that opportunity, specifically teachers, that the state employees should be able to also collectively bargain.
All right, let's talk about the recall issue here. Obviously, the governor's office is totally against the idea of a recall, but certainly the public has a right if they're upset with the governor raising taxes and they want to start a recall, and they're looking at what's going on in California, for them to say, hey, we're going to try and get the number of signatures necessary to do this.
Sam, absolutely. It's a recall is part of our constitutional, part of our Constitution. It is a right, but I think we really need to step back and look who this group is and how legitimate they really are, therefore how legitimate an effort would be. I think the media would do us a very good service to the state of Nevada of finding out who these folks are. We don't know who they are. 4 or 5 people say they have 600 volunteers. They have to collect 128,000 validated signatures in 90 days. The real matter, though, is when you compare our situation to California, I mean, it is so very different. We have a very popular governor, received 65% of the vote just 9 months ago from the state of Nevada voters. He continues to be popular in the polls, even though he made a tough decision about taxes. This is a man who has spent his life in public service in Nevada. He also is a man that's brought us some very popular programs like the Millennium Scholarship. We've got 32,000 students in the state of Nevada who are Millennium Scholarship recipients. We have 12,000 seniors soon to be on Senior RX, the first senior prescription drug program of its kind in the country. This is a popular governor. I don't think a recall effort is going to get underway.
But we're going into the next session with a $200 million gap right off the bat in terms of what we need to fund the state services, correct?
Well, Sam, to be exactly correct, the 04-05 budget is balanced. That hole, if you will, of $200 million that has been spoken about really impacts us in the 05-06 biennium. the next biennium, not this current one.
Right. So,
And
so we're talking about the next session of the legislature in 2005.
yes, and there might be some opportunities to make some changes there. What essentially the legislature did is they took some federal money that is one time only, it is not repeating revenue, and put it into the base. And that concerns us.
But the governor said he's not going to put forth any raising of taxes. So how are we going to cover that shortfall?
We're going to have to go in, and as he has already done over the last 4 years, and we'll have to look at our programs very carefully. We'll do some cutting probably. We'll bring about some more efficiencies.
But he's just lifted the hiring freeze.
But Andy and Sam, I need to tell you about that. The hiring freeze, we have frozen for over 5 years in this state. We cut 500 positions right out of the base. What we were looking at is we have to provide a level of service statutorily to the public. What was happening is we were becoming more and more inefficient in providing statutory basic services to people. So what was occurring is we were getting more overtime for our correctional officers in our prisons, more overtime for some of our welfare employees. This was becoming inefficient and costly. So the governor said very conservatively, I will lift the hiring fees so we don't cost ourselves more money in overtime. And I can't break the law by not providing mandatory services to our people. So it was really an efficiency measure that the governor made.
But the bottom line is that, at some point over the next 18 months, we're going to have to find out what kind of cuts are going to have to be made.
Absolutely.
Or what kind of taxes
the
might
governor
have to be
has
raised.
already had a meeting with the cabinet and said, get ready. We're going to have to look at our programs one more time.
One last question. Will the legislature have a budget on its desk the first day of the session that they can, a bill that they can actually look at and go through?
Statutorily, we have to.
Right.
We present the budget by law.
He's talking about the bill, which
the actual bill.
The bill didn't get introduced till the 28th day of this session.
No. The budget was introduced,
Right.
Sam. Let me correct you.
No, I
by
understand.
law,
I mean
we
the
have
bill.
to.
Yeah.
You mean the tax bill?
Right.
Well, the governor doesn't plan to propose a tax bill. So the answer to that is no.
That's a great answer. Okay, and on that, have a very nice Labor Day. Thank you for being
I
here.
appreciate being here.
We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
Before you head to Carson, take care of yourself with a visit to Tamarack Junction. Catch a hot cup of coffee and the morning news on one of our 32 TVs and enjoy the best food in South Reno. Tamarack Junction, your junction for fun. South Virginia and Amati Ranch Parkway.
The Abowed family has an appetite for dialogue. Agree or disagree, have the conversation. All opinions are welcome. Since 1977, Adele's.
Today's lesson, another reason to take the Gold Rush Club Card Challenge. With the Gold Rush Card, you really have 3 cards in one. Use your cash back. You still keep your comps and drawing tickets. Use your comps. You still keep your cash and drawing tickets. And with your drawing tickets, you could win thousands in cold hard cash every week. And still keep your cash back and comps. Does your club add up? Graduate to the Gold Rush Players Club. It's the smart thing to do. The Gold Dust West, south on Keystone, east on 4th.
When you sign up for Wells Fargo Free Checking, you get more than free checking. You get the freedom to bank when and where you want. Wells Fargo, the next stage.
Make your daily commute easy with breakfast or lunch at the Tamarack Junction. Enjoy daily specials, super fast service, and South Reno's freshest morning meals. Tamarack Junction, your junction for fun. South Virginia and Amati Ranch Parkway.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by Charter Communication.
And welcome back to our pundit panel. We have with us today starting at this end, Danny Thompson with the AFL-CIO, Tom Stoneburner with the Alliance for Workers' Rights, Andy Barbano. What is your labor page called?
NevadaLabor.com.
Okay, great. And Jim Nelson with the Association of Employers.
The Nevada Association
Nevada
of Employers.
Association of
Yes,
Employers. Okay, Jim, let me start with you. Obviously, the three gentlemen to your right, who would rather be on your left, are in favor of unions. Your job, though, is when a company hears that a union wants to come in and unionize its workers, your job is to go in and help that employer fight the union. Is that correct?
That's correct. We're clearly on the employer side of the fence with respect to labor relations issues. And employers that are in the process of being organized, if they wish to fight that, then, and if they're members of my association, then of course we'll go in there and we'll give them a hand. We also give them assistance in the collective bargaining process, as well as the grievance and the arbitration process. So, yeah, we're on the employer side of the issue.
Are unions really necessary today?
Well, we believe that in most cases they're not. We believe that most employers don't need to have third-party representation with respect to their dealings with their employees. But clearly there are employers that have issues with their employees, and they're the ones that are most vulnerable with regard to being organized.
Are unions really necessary today, guys?
Yes, and I'd like to just say that, you know, because I get calls every day from people who are not union members who, and I'll give you a classic call. A call from a non-union gaming property in Las Vegas where somebody had worked for 20 years, and in their job, they were laid off from their job, and then a relative of the supervisor was hired in their place, and thinking that, you know, that the law in Nevada somehow protects them, that the right to work law protects them. Well, in fact, you know, Nevada is a right to work state. Without a union contract, you don't have any rights. It's a terminate at will state. And that is to say, I can fire you for any reason short of, you know, sexual harassment or other things, and there's not a lot you can do about it. And so without a union contract, you really don't have any true protections under the law in Nevada.
Here's a guy who starts a business in his living room. It grows. He sacrifices for years. He puts the business together. He hires people. He makes jobs, and all of a sudden, nothing is his anymore?
All of a sudden he starts screwing workers over. We've gotten this show off on the wrong foot, which is unions good, unions bad. Where do we find Jimmy Hoffa? Unions have been diminished due to good union busting campaigns and 50 years of prejudicial legislation to where they only represent 13% of the American workforce. We're up at about 20% here in Nevada now. The real issues are...
Which is higher than the national average.
The real issues, 13% is the national average. The real issues are workers' rights and the oppression of workers, which is why I'm glad Mr. Stoneburner is here, because he advocates not only for union workers, but for the 90% or 87% of workers who are not represented by unions, but need a heck of a lot of help. The oppression by employers in this country is the worst in the industrialized world. Stoney, it's yours.
Well, Andy, one thing that happens at the Alliance for Workers' Rights is every time the telephone rings, somebody on the other end is a worker that has an issue. The biggest part of those issues would not be issues, that phone wouldn't be ringing if that worker was protected by a union contract. Generally speaking, I'm not talking in absolutes. And the other thing that we have to remember is that those rights, whether it's workplace safety, whether it's fair labor standards and wages and hours, even the 40-hour work week, wouldn't be an option here in the United States if it wasn't for the union workers that sometimes sacrifice their lives, you know, in fighting for these things down through the years. We have to go back to the history and remember where unions came from.
Well, right, and unions, I think, you know, have really been a help to this country and to workers in this country. There's no doubt about that, you know, child labor laws, everything else. Unions have been just very, very important to this country and its growth. But now we're seeing a lot of these jobs even go offshore. I mean, and unions haven't been able to stop that. I mean, what are unions doing today? I mean, we don't really have people. You talk about abuse, Andy. Is there really employer abuse, tough employer abuse going on?
It's epidemic, absolutely epidemic.
And Jim, just feel free to jump in here.
Well, obviously, I don't agree with that. I definitely believe that there are some employers out there who don't treat their employees in a manner that they should. And as I said earlier, those are the employers that frankly deserve to get organized. I've got no problem with that. But we see time and time again employers that, as you said earlier, they develop a business, they grow a business, and then all of a sudden you've got a third party coming in, and at some point in time, the feeling is, the sense is by the employer that they're no longer in total control of their organization, and that's what we see. That's what we see, and that's where our efforts are focused. With regard to our employers.
When you bring in a union buster, you turn over control of your business to the union buster, and everything is focused on intimidating those workers that unions are bad and you are disgracing your boss if you even think about it. That's exactly how the game is played, and there are over 10,000 union busting law firms in this country right now making $250 to $750 an hour to go out and make sure that that minimum wage worker stays that way with no rights.
And in fact, the National Labor Relations Act is fraught with delays and appeals that in those types of situations go on for years and years and years, and it really is unfortunate that when workers want to organize, and they want to organize for a reason. They want to have some job security. They want to have a grievance process they can settle their problems, and they want to have some rules. And so, without that union contract in this state, you don't have anything. And I'm here to tell you, the law does not protect you in any way.
Stoney, what kind of calls do you get about what kind of abuses on workers' rights up here in the north in particular?
It runs an incredible range. And the biggest single thing that happens when the phone rings is an employee that calls up and says, something, my boss did this or that to me, or for instance, a person that's intimidated into silence because they're afraid of losing their job.
You were active in the high heel issue at Harrah's, right?
There's a good example. For years and years, women in the casino industry, for instance, cocktail servers, were forced to go out and run the equivalent of a marathon every night in high heels until they were crippled. And those kinds of issues are the kinds of things that the unions can fight for and help solve them. The unions can't do it alone. That's one thing I'd like to make clear here, is that we cannot leave it up to the unions.
We're just about out of time here, so all right, they can't do it alone?
They can't do it alone. The community's got to rally behind the unions and behind their workers.
Okay, clearly this is an issue that isn't going to be settled here today, and probably not in your minds either. We'll be right back.
Big Apple Pizza, best pizza in Nevada, take one.
Today we're making homemade meatballs for a meatball parm. You like cheesesteak? I think you're like in South Philly right now. It's the best cheese ever made. Now that's how a Philly cheesesteak's supposed to look.
And here's little Cole.
This is authentic. We'll throw some pepperoni in here. Not gonna be shy about it. Yeah, I bet you guys didn't know I could do that. Don't skimp on the toppings. Authentic as it gets. Big Apple Pizza and Subs on the corner of Bering and McCarran. A New Jersey guy who knows how to make an East Coast pizza.
Would you like to savor a Trento pork chop? Or maybe pasta rags with grilled chicken? Hugo's Tuscan Grill at DeAndrea is a celebration of color, flavor, and freshness. Each dish is created from natural, wholesome foods that is delicious and nutritious. Hugo's is a comfortable restaurant with breathtaking city views. If you enjoy great food and good company, visit us here at Hugo's. It's the best that dining can be. 2900 South DeAndrea Parkway in Sparks.
It's America's largest historical district, and it's fun for the entire family. Virginia City is where the West comes alive every day, from train rides to gunslingers. Your gang can explore mines and interesting museums, visit historic saloons, and do some great shopping. Virginia City is the ultimate in family entertainment, and it's very affordable. Come up and stay overnight in our hotels, motels, and RV park. Virginia City, the Wild West at its best.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by Charter Communication.
Obviously a topic that we can talk a lot more about in future shows.
And we will. After all, though, this is Labor Day.
Indeed.
What could be more appropriate?
Okay, coming up on tomorrow's show, John L. Smith from Las Vegas. Scandals continue to plague Las Vegas, and connected to San Diego, we'll have the latest for you, and a whole lot more coming up the rest of this week.
Thank you for watching.